Dr. Sarah Chen stood motionless in the Quantum Observatory's control room, her eyes fixed on the impossible data streaming across her holographic display. After 15 years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, the universe had finally answered, but not with the gentle greeting she had imagined. The quantum particles danced in perfect synchronization, forming patterns too precise to be natural. Her hands trembled as she initiated the decryption sequence. The message was clear, deliberate, and terrifying. To the Deathworlders of Sol 3, we require your aid. Our civilization faces extinction. You are our final hope. Sarah immediately contacted the International Space Coalition. Within hours, the ISC's Emergency Council assembled in Geneva, with holographic representatives from every major nation flickering to life in the chamber. Director Marcus Raman, a veteran diplomat with steel-gray hair and weathered features, addressed the gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, after centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe, we now face an unprecedented situation. An advanced civilization has not only contacted us, but specifically requested our help. Dr. Chen, please present your findings. Sarah's hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. The message originated from the Carina Nebula, approximately 7,500 light-years away. The quantum entangled transmission suggests technology far beyond our current understanding. But what's most intriguing is their specific request for Deathworlders. Admiral Yuki Tanaka, head of the Global Defense Force, leaned forward. Deathworlders. They make it sound like we're some kind of cosmic monsters. Actually, Sarah continued, we've received additional data explaining this term. It seems that in their classification system, Earth is considered a Class 13 death world, a planet so hazardous that most spacefaring species would find it uninhabitable. Our gravity is crushing, our atmospheric pressure extreme, our temperature variations lethal, and our biosphere teeming with predators and pathogens. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Director Raman raised his hand for silence. Dr. Chen, what exactly are they asking of us? Sarah projected a new set of data. They're part of a collective called the Galactic Concordat. 13 species spread across thousands of star systems. They're facing an entity they call the Void Cascade, a phenomenon that's consuming entire solar systems. Their most advanced defensive technologies have failed. They believe our evolution on Earth has given us unique capabilities they lack. What capabilities? Admiral Tanaka asked. Our adaptability, our resilience, our ability to survive in extreme conditions. To them, we're essentially superhuman. Where they've evolved in carefully controlled environments, we've thrived in what they consider chaos. President Adebayo of the African Union spoke up. And if we refuse? Sarah's expression darkened. The Void Cascade's expansion is accelerating. Based on their projections, it will reach Earth in approximately 300 years. We either help them stop it now or face it alone in the future. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't a celebration of cosmic brotherhood. It was a desperate call for help from beings who saw them as creatures forged in the crucible of a living hell. Director Raman stood. We need to vote. Do we answer this call? Do we risk our people to save species we've never met? Or do we wait and hope we can find our own solution before this threat reaches us? The debate raged for hours. Some argued for isolation, others for immediate action. Scientists saw an opportunity to advance human knowledge by centuries. Military leaders worried about revealing Earth's location to unknown entities. Economists calculated the cost of an interstellar mission against the potential gains of alien technology. As the sun set over Geneva, the final vote was cast. By a margin of 3 votes, the Council decided humanity would answer the call. Dr. Chen, Raman announced, initiate contact protocols. Admiral Tanaka, begin crew selection for the mission. We'll need our best and brightest. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and diplomats. People who exemplify the very traits that made these aliens reach out to us. Sarah returned to her quantum observatory that night, crafting humanity's first official response to an alien civilization. As she worked, she couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humans had spent centuries looking up at the stars, wondering if they were alone, hoping to find wise teachers among the cosmos. Instead, they found students, advanced students, but students nonetheless, who needed to learn from Earth's children how to survive in a hostile universe. The message she sent was simple. To the Galactic Concordat, we hear your call. We will come. Hold on. Across Earth, preparations began. Humanity's first interstellar mission would not be a journey of exploration or discovery, but a rescue mission on a cosmic scale. The Deathworlders of Sol 3 were about to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. The Helios Space Center, carved into the Himalayan mountains, hummed with unprecedented activity. Deep within its titanium-reinforced chambers, Commander Maya Patel watched as the most ambitious project in human history took shape. The starship Dauntless rose before her, its quantum-enhanced hull gleaming under the harsh industrial lights. Impressive, isn't it? Dr. James Morrison, the project's lead engineer, joined her at the observation deck. 3 months ago, this was just theoretical physics. Now, thanks to the Concordat's data, we're building humanity's first faster-than-light vessel. Maya nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the ship's metallic surface. And they think we're the dangerous ones. Their quantum transmission contained enough advanced science to revolutionize human civilization for centuries. The Dauntless represented a fusion of human ingenuity and alien knowledge. While the Concordat had provided the theoretical framework for FTL travel, human engineers had done what they did best: improvised, adapted, and overcome the practical challenges of construction. In the adjacent training facility, Dr. Elena Rodriguez supervised the crew selection process. Candidates from every nation endured punishing physical and psychological tests designed to push human adaptability to its limits. The facility replicated extreme conditions, crushing gravity chambers, toxic atmosphere rooms, and temperature variants that would kill most alien species. Next scenario, Elena called out. The simulation chamber transformed into a high-pressure environment with corrosive rain. Inside, Captain Victor Okonjo moved with practiced efficiency, his environmental suit's systems adapting in real time. Where the Concordat species would require complex machinery to survive such conditions, humans needed only minimal protection. Their evolutionary path versus ours, Elena explained to the observing scientists. They developed technology to avoid environmental challenges. We developed resilience to overcome them. Both approaches worked, but now they need our kind of strength. In the biological research wing, Dr. Chen collaborated with geneticist Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka. Holographic displays showed comparative analyses between human DNA and the genetic structures of Concordat species. Look at this, Hiroshi pointed to a complex molecular chain. Their genetic code is remarkably stable, perfectly adapted to specific conditions. Ours is constantly ready to mutate, to adapt. We're built to survive change at a cellular level. Sarah examined the data. No wonder they call us Deathworlders. Our entire biology is geared for survival in conditions they'd consider apocalyptic. Even our immune system is more aggressive than anything they've encountered. The ship's construction accelerated as reports from the Concordat grew dire. The Void Cascade had consumed 3 more star systems. Each victory it claimed made it stronger, more intelligent, as if it were learning from every civilization it destroyed. In the tactical center, Admiral Tanaka reviewed the latest combat simulations. The Void Cascade defied conventional physics, absorbing energy and matter alike. Traditional weapons, both human and alien, proved useless against it, but humans had never relied solely on superior firepower to win their battles. We need to think like Deathworlders, Maya addressed her assembled crew. Our ancestors didn't survive by being the strongest or fastest. We survived by being clever, by turning hostile environments to our advantage. That's what we need to do here. The crew selection concluded with 20 individuals chosen from thousands of candidates. Each represented the peak of human capability. Adaptive problem solvers, resilient survivors, and innovative thinkers. They were humanity's answer to an impossible threat. As launch day approached, the Dauntless received its final modifications. The ship's AI core, developed from scratch by human programmers, incorporated randomness and adaptability that the Concordat's precise, predictable systems lacked. Its weapons systems were designed not to overpower the Void Cascade, but to outmaneuver it. Maya stood before her crew during their final briefing. The Concordat sees us as creatures forged in hell, capable of surviving conditions that would break their strongest warriors. But that's not what makes us dangerous. It's not our ability to survive that they need. It's our refusal to accept defeat, our drive to protect not just ourselves but others, our capacity to face the impossible and find a way through. In orbit, the Dauntless underwent its final checks. Earth's combined space forces maintained a protective perimeter, though everyone knew that if the launch failed, there would be no defense against what was coming. Dr. Chen made one final transmission to the Concordat. The Deathworlders are ready. We bring not just our strength, but our spirit. The children of Earth are coming to fight for more than just survival. We're coming to ensure that life itself, in all its forms, has a future among the stars. As the launch countdown began, humanity held its breath. They had spent their existence looking up at the stars, dreaming of the day they would join the galactic community. Now they would enter that community not as humble students or peaceful explorers, but as saviors, bringing with them all the terrible and wonderful adaptations that their harsh cradle of Earth had gifted them. The Dauntless tore through the fabric of space-time, its quantum drive generating ripples across the cosmos. Inside the bridge, Commander Maya Patel monitored the ship's systems as they ventured deeper into unexplored space than any human had ever gone before. "Quantum wake is stable," reported Dr. Morrison from his engineering station. The Concordat's calculations were perfect, but I've got to admit, I never expected our jerry-rigged improvements to work this well. Maya allowed herself a small smile. The Dauntless's engines represented a uniquely human approach to alien technology. They'd taken the Concordat's elegant theoretical design and made it work with raw materials and improvised solutions that would have horrified their alien allies. "New contact," announced Lieutenant Sarah Wong, her hands dancing across the sensor array. "It's massive. Concordat signatures detected, but they're degrading rapidly." The main viewport shifted, revealing a sight that made every crew member freeze. A vast structure floated in the void, a space station easily the size of Manhattan, but it was being consumed by what looked like living darkness. Tendrils of absolute blackness writhed across its surface, methodically breaking down matter into nothingness. "The Void Cascade," Maya breathed. "This is our first real look at it. Begin active scans, full spectrum." The ship's sensors probed the phenomenon, gathering data that would have taken the Concordat years to collect. Humans, used to acting decisively in the face of the unknown, weren't content with careful observation from a safe distance. "Commander," Dr. Rodriguez called from her science station, "I'm detecting life signs in the station. Concordat survivors, at least 30 of them, trapped in a sealed central chamber." Maya didn't hesitate. "Launch rescue operations. Suit up for full environmental hazards. We're going in." The rescue team assembled in the launch bay, donning advanced environmental suits that represented the peak of human protective technology. Captain Okonjo led the team, his calm voice steady over the comm as they boarded the shuttle. "Remember your training," he said. "We've survived worse conditions on Earth. Treat this like any other hostile environment mission." The shuttle approached the dying station, navigating through gaps in the Void Cascade's tendrils. Up close, the phenomenon was even more terrifying. It seemed to absorb not just matter, but light itself, creating patches of absolute darkness that defied physics. Inside the station, The team moved with practiced efficiency through corridors that bore signs of desperate evacuation. The architecture was elegant, beautiful, and completely impractical from a human perspective, with no redundant systems or emergency protocols. They found the survivors in a sealed chamber, protected by failing energy shields. The aliens, tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin, recoiled at the sight of the humans in their bulky suits. Deathworlders, one of them whispered in accented English, their translator struggling with the concept. You actually came. We need to move fast, Okonjo commanded. Our suits can withstand the void's effects, but not indefinitely. The team began evacuating the survivors, who seemed shocked by the humans' direct approach to the crisis. But the void cascade wasn't finished. As they made their way back, the darkness seemed to respond to their presence, moving with purpose rather than its previous random patterns. It's learning, Dr. Rodriguez observed through the comm. It's adapting to our presence, just like we adapt to threats. Maya watched from the bridge as the darkness began to coalesce, forming more concentrated tendrils that moved with increasing speed. It's intelligent, she realized. Not just a force of nature, it's an entity that evolves. The rescue team was nearly at the shuttle when the void made its move. A tendril of darkness shot toward them with devastating speed. Without hesitation, Okonjo activated his suit's experimental defense system, a field of controlled chaos based on the random patterns of Earth's weather systems. The void cascade recoiled. For the first time, it had encountered something it couldn't immediately analyze and overcome: the human technology, built with intentional imperfections and randomness, confused its perfect calculations. Get everyone aboard, now, Maya ordered as more tendrils approached. The shuttle launched, racing back to the Dauntless as the station began to collapse behind them. Safe aboard the ship, the rescued aliens watched in amazement as the humans efficiently processed their evacuation, treating the extraordinary situation as if it were a routine emergency response. How can you act so normally in the face of such horror? One of them asked Dr. Rodriguez as she treated their injuries. Elena smiled as she worked. On Earth, we face natural disasters that could wipe out cities, predators that could tear us apart, diseases that could devastate populations. We've learned that panic doesn't help. You adapt, you overcome, you survive. The Dauntless pulled away from the dying station, its databases now filled with crucial information about their enemy. The void cascade had revealed itself as more than just a mindless force of destruction. It was an adaptive entity that learned and evolved, much like life itself. Maya stood at the bridge viewport, watching as the station finally succumbed to the darkness. Send a message to Earth and the Concordat, she ordered. Tell them we've made first contact with the enemy. And tell them we've found its weakness. It can't handle chaos. It can't predict the unpredictable. A grim smile crossed her face. And if there's one thing we Deathworlders know how to do, it's survive chaos. The Concordat's emergency council chamber aboard their flagship, Haven, buzzed with an energy that hadn't been felt in months. Commander Maya Patel stood before the assembled representatives of 13 alien species, her presence both reassuring and unsettling to the gathered beings. The rescued survivors' testimony had spread rapidly through the Concordat. Tales of humans charging headlong into what they considered certain death, treating cosmic horror as just another Tuesday. The void cascade isn't invincible, Maya declared, projecting the Dauntless's sensor data. It's a perfect system, and that's its weakness. It can't handle true randomness, can't adapt to genuine chaos, the very things that shaped human evolution. The alien representatives exchanged glances. First speaker Lyra, a tall being with crystalline features, leaned forward. Explain how this helps us, Deathworlder. The cascade has already consumed 12 star systems. Dr. Morrison stepped forward, his hands covered in engine grease from recent repairs. We've been studying your technology. Beautiful stuff. Perfect in every way. But that's the problem. You've evolved to eliminate variables, to achieve perfect efficiency. We humans, We thrive on imperfection. He pulled up schematics of modified Concordat weapons. We've redesigned your defense systems to incorporate controlled chaos, random elements that make them unpredictable. It's like our immune systems, always changing, always adapting, never presenting the same pattern twice. The council chamber erupted in overlapping conversations as the implications sank in. The Concordat's technology, refined over millennia to achieve perfect harmony, had been utterly useless against the void cascade. But humanity's primitive approach to engineering, building in redundancies, backup systems, and controlled imperfections, might be exactly what they needed. Back aboard the Dauntless, Dr. Rodriguez worked with Concordat scientists, studying the biological samples taken from the void cascade's edge. Look at this, she pointed to a molecular structure. It's not just consuming matter. It's processing it, learning from it. Every perfect system it absorbs makes it stronger. Then we feed it imperfection, Captain Okonjo suggested, joining them in the lab. On Earth, some of our most effective military strategies came from guerrilla warfare, small, unpredictable attacks that frustrate a superior force. The plan took shape over the next few days. The Concordat's vast fleets would be retrofitted with human-designed chaos engines, devices that generated controlled randomness in both energy output and tactical movements. The Dauntless's crew worked around the clock, teaching their alien allies to think like Deathworlders. You have to embrace the chaos, Maya explained to a group of Concordat engineers. Stop trying to calculate every variable. Sometimes, the best solution is to throw something unexpected at the problem and adapt to the results. The void cascade didn't wait for them to finish their preparations. A distress call came from the Centauri colony, a major Concordat settlement. The Dauntless and a hastily modified Concordat cruiser responded, arriving to find the cascade already consuming the colony's outer defenses. All hands, battle stations, Maya commanded. Let's show them what Earth's children can do. The two ships engaged the void cascade, but this time was different. Where before the Concordat vessel would have maintained perfect formation and predictable attack patterns, now it moved erratically, its weapons firing in random sequences. The Dauntless added to the chaos, its human crew improvising tactics that defied conventional space combat doctrine. For the first time, the void cascade seemed to hesitate. Its tendrils lashed out of the ships but couldn't predict their movements. Every time it adapted to one pattern, the defenders changed their approach. It's working, Dr. Morrison shouted from engineering. The cascade's trying to analyze our attack patterns, but there aren't any patterns to analyze. The battle raged for hours, humanity's controlled chaos gradually pushing back the darkness. The Centauri colony's inhabitants watched in awe as the Deathworlders and their modified alien allies did what months of conventional warfare couldn't. They made the void cascade retreat. In the aftermath, Maya stood with First Speaker Lyra, watching repair crews work on the colony's defenses. Your people are. Lyra searched for the right words. Fascinating. We achieve perfection through evolution, yet you show us that imperfection might be the greater strength. Maya smiled. That's what Earth taught us. Perfect systems are brittle. Life isn't about achieving perfection. It's about being able to adapt when everything goes wrong. And trust me, on Earth, things go wrong all the time. The victory at Centauri Colony changed everything. The Concordat began to see their human allies in a new light, not just as powerful brutes from a death world, but as teachers. Humanity's greatest gift wasn't their physical resilience or their technological innovations, but their perspective, their ability to see strength in chaos, opportunity in disaster, and hope in the darkest moments. As news of their success spread, more Concordat worlds began requesting human advisors. The children of Earth found themselves teaching ancient civilizations how to embrace chaos, how to think like survivors, how to become a little more like Deathworlders themselves. The tide was turning, but the void cascade was far from defeated. The real test was still to come. The combined fleet of human and Concordat vessels hung in the dark space above the Andromeda core, their hulls gleaming with modified chaos pattern shields. Commander Maya Patel stood on the Dauntless's bridge, watching the tactical display as the Void Cascade approached. No longer a mindless force, but a concentrated entity, drawn to their challenge. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Wong announced. "The Concordat fleet has successfully implemented our randomized defense protocols." The past month had seen a complete transformation in how the Concordat approached warfare. Under human guidance, they'd learned to embrace unpredictability, to find strength in adaptation rather than perfection. Now, they faced their greatest test. "The Cascade is changing its pattern," Dr. Rodriguez reported from her station. "It's concentrating, forming something." The view screens showed the impossible. The Void Cascade was coalescing into a massive structure, a dark mirror of the assembled fleet. It had learned from every civilization it had consumed, every perfect system it had absorbed, but it had never faced anything like humanity before. "It's trying to communicate," Dr. Morrison said, studying the quantum readings. "The pattern. It's similar to the Concordat's original distress signal." Maya opened the channel. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as a voice emerged from their speakers. Not human, not Concordat, but something else entirely. "You are an aberration," the voice stated, its tone a mixture of confusion and fascination. "Your chaos disrupts the path to perfection. You must be understood, absorbed, perfected." Maya stepped forward. "We are human. We don't seek perfection. We seek survival, adaptation, growth. Every civilization you've consumed sought perfection, and that's why they couldn't stop you. But we're different. We're imperfect, and that's our strength." The Void Cascade's response was immediate and violent. Dark tendrils lashed out at the fleet, but this time they met prepared defenders. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns, their weapons firing in chaotic sequences that defy prediction. The Dauntless led the charge, its human crew demonstrating the controlled chaos they'd mastered over generations of survival on their death world. "It's trying to adapt to our patterns," Captain Okonjo observed from tactical. "But there are no patterns to adapt to." The battle raged across space, a testament to the power of unpredictability against perfect calculation. The Void Cascade, for the first time in its existence, faced an enemy it couldn't simply analyze and overcome. Every time it thought it had understood humanity's approach, they changed tactics, evolved their strategy, found new ways to survive. But the entity wasn't defeated easily. It began to split, trying to overwhelm the defenders with sheer numbers. The Concordat ships, once rigid in their formations, now moved with an almost organic fluidity, supporting each other in ways their builders had never imagined possible. "This is our moment," Maya broadcast to the fleet. "Show it why Deathworlders never give up." The Dauntless drove straight toward the heart of the Cascade, its chaos engines pushing the boundaries of physics. Dr. Morrison's voice came over the comm. "Commander, we can overload the quantum drive. Create a disruption so random, so chaotic, that even the Cascade can't process it." "The ship won't survive that," Maya replied. "No," Morrison agreed, "but neither will the Cascade's core consciousness." Maya looked at her crew, humans who had crossed galaxies to save species they'd never met, who had taught ancient civilizations how to embrace chaos, who had proven that humanity's greatest strength was not their ability to survive, but their willingness to sacrifice for others. "All crews, fall back to safe distance," she ordered. "The Dauntless will handle this." The Concordat ships retreated, but not before First Speaker Lyra's voice came through. "The children of Earth have taught us more than how to fight. They've taught us how to live. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." The Dauntless plunged into the heart of the Void Cascade, its engines screaming as they pushed beyond their limits. The darkness tried to consume them, to understand them, to perfect them. But you can't perfect chaos. You can't predict the unpredictable. You can't control the uncontrollable. In a final burst of energy, The Dauntless released all its power at once, not in a controlled explosion, but in a wave of pure chaos, a burst of quantum randomness that reflected everything humanity represented. The Void Cascade, faced with something it could never understand or absorb, began to collapse. From the bridge of a Concordat ship, the survivors watched as the entity that had threatened their civilization for so long finally dissolved, unable to maintain its perfect structure in the face of ultimate chaos. The victory changed more than just the balance of power in the galaxy. It changed how the Concordat saw the universe itself. They had achieved remarkable things through their pursuit of perfection, but humanity had shown them a different path, one of constant adaptation, of finding strength in imperfection, of seeing opportunity in disaster. 3 months later, Earth received a new transmission from the Concordat. They didn't ask for help this time. They asked for teachers. They wanted to learn from the Deathworlders, to understand how to balance perfection with adaptation, order with chaos. As Maya stood in the quantum observatory where it had all begun, watching Dr. Chen prepare to transmit Earth's response, she smiled. Humanity had entered the galactic community not as humble students or fearsome warriors, but as something far more valuable. Teachers who could show ancient civilizations that sometimes the hardest path creates the strongest survivors. Send the message, she said to Chen. Tell them Earth's children are ready to show them how to embrace the chaos, how to find strength in imperfection, and how to face an uncertain universe without fear. The Deathworlders had become the saviors, and in doing so, they had created a legacy that would reshape the galaxy for generations to come.